Hello, and welcome to Behind the Ballet. I'm Elizabeth Kaye, and today I'll be telling you about Classics Old and New, one of 3 programs in American Ballet Theater's exciting and expansive fall season. It's a season fashioned by ABT's artistic director, Susan Jaffe, to bring you 7 ballets that range from the most classical, elegant tutu ballet to vibrant, dramatic, contemporary works. Taken together, these dazzling ballets will show you the many facets of ABT and the stunning versatility of the company's dancers. In Classics Old and New, you'll see 3 utterly different ballets, each of them born and realized through a choreographer's own unique vision. Choreographers toil in an art that is an exquisite paradox. Ballet is immediate yet timeless. It speaks to us without uttering a word. It traffics in equal measures of bodily prowess and spiritual transcendence. Male dancers leap and spin, dazzling us with their whirlwind speed and power. Ballerinas pirouetting across the stage are gorgeous embodiments of delicacy and endurance. And each enthralling sequence of steps we see is a sequence initially visualized in the mind of a choreographer. In that sense, ballet is imagination and thought made visible. What you will see in this program is the amazing way the same steps, the same ballet vocabulary, can be configured to express everything from grief to ecstasy, from the fiercest athleticism to enticing sensuality to astounding grace. The first work on this program was created by Alexei Ratmansky, who for 13 years was ABT's artist in residence. The Piano Concerto No. 1 was created to music by Dmitri Shostakovich, a composer who established himself with his first symphony, a piece he created on a grand scale when he was just 19. Ratmansky has adored Shostakovich's music since his youth, so much so that he has set at least 11 pieces to his music. Shostakovich composed this particular score in 1933, a few years before the Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin made his life miserable. Shostakovich had been the golden boy of Soviet music, but as adventurous, dramatic music was increasingly banned in the Soviet Union, he fell into disfavor with the authorities and with Stalin in particular. As a declared enemy of the people, he became, as he wrote, near to suicide. From then on, people crossed the street to avoid him. He kept a suitcase packed with warm underwear and heavy shoes to take with him when, as he presumed, he would be exiled to Siberia. Ever fearful, he slept in the stairwell outside his apartment to protect his family from seeing the secret police arrest him. Now, he never was arrested, yet he lived in a kind of prison, where for years he composed lesser music that could be regarded as acceptable and safe. Only at the end of his life did he flout the Soviet cultural czars and return to the sort of music he yearned to produce. But all of this had yet to occur when the Piano Concerto No. 1 was composed, and when ABT performs it, the dancers seem to be living within Shostakovich's vivid, mercurial, emotional music as it rushes along, leading us from one mood to the next. Ratmansky's choreography perfectly echoes the score, as he uses the dancers as if they were musical instruments. Their widespread arms replicate the piano's melodies. Their feet suggest the bright, brassy notes of the trumpet. The richness of the music serves as a soundtrack for Ratmansky's inventive visual treats. 2 ballerinas traversing the stage in broad, skater-like steps and circling each other as if engaged in some undeclared game or an unspoken competition. In other passages, the pas de deux is romance made palpable, and the profusion of virtuosic steps are as astounding as they are intended to be. The finale proceeds at an unthinkably fast and thrilling pace. One music critic has suggested that the frantic quality of the music may stem from the fact that as a young man, Shostakovich was the piano accompanist for silent movies. But because this is music created in the Soviet Stalinist era, Ratmansky also gives us glimpses of a lurking, burgeoning suspicion and menace. We see this when the two ballerinas suddenly stop and gaze outward apprehensively, as if fearing a malign presence, or when a male dancer performs a solo inspired by the fate of artists who became prisoners in their own country, unable to get out. It seems that Ratmansky is suggesting that Shostakovich already sensed the danger was in the offing, and yet, for the moment, Shostakovich was free to be himself, and with this music and this ballet, Ratmansky celebrates his greatness. The second work in this diverse program, Petite Mort, is a brief contemporary masterpiece created by the Czech-born choreographer Jiří Kylián, whose ballets are forays into the human soul. If you were to encounter Kylián, it might strike you that he is a choreographer, but you also might assume that this tall, thin man with his calm, solemn manner and dignified bearing must be a monk, the kind who dwells alone and in silence on a mountaintop. What he is, in fact, is an artist who has given his life to dance, yet has always been preoccupied with the ever mysterious, immense questions at the heart of the human condition, among them living a meaningful life in the face of the inevitability of death and the purpose of existence. Kylián's work is a feast of moods and styles as he merges classical dance with contemporary methods. In his works, there is both muscularity and delicacy, tranquility and aggression. He approaches dance with unmistakable fervor and a reverence for its history, as he made plain when he came to ABT some years ago for revival of Stepping Stones, a work ABT first danced in 1996. At one point, the dancers were to strike a basic ballet pose, and in showing them the significance with which he wanted it performed, Kylián struck the same pose, then exhorted them, saying, "Dancers, we have been doing this for 500 years." It was a fantastic moment. For all choreographers, the music they choose serves as a muse that fires their heart and ignites their creativity. Here is what Kylián said about the music for Petite Mort. "I have based my choreography on two slow movements from the two most famous piano concertos by Mozart. I have cut them away from the fast movements, leaving them as mutilated torsos, lying helplessly in front of the listener and beholder. There is no doubt that it is perverse to do such a thing, but yet we do, and I am no exception. We live in a world in which nothing is sacred." But at the same time, his Petite Mort paid special tribute to Mozart by holding its 1991 world premiere at the festival in Salzburg, where Mozart was born, on the second centenary of the composer's death. At the start of Petite Mort, we hear rumbling sounds that sound like distant thunder. Then out of the darkness come 6 men, their chest, arms, and feet bared. They are brandishing swords, but what are these swords? Are they swords that defend, swords that kill, or perhaps swords that serve as a symbol of masculinity? At first, there is no music. We hear only that swooshing of the swords as they whip through the air and the percussive sounds made by the dancers' feet. Then the delicate music begins, and the 6 men rush forward from the back of the stage, carrying aloft a huge cloth the color of storm clouds that covers the stage, and which, when they remove it a moment later, reveals 6 women lying down. Like the men, their legs, feet, and arms are bare. As they pair off into couples, their sinuous, seamless movements, with arms strikingly bent at the elbows and legs bent at the knees and beautifully pointed feet, give them the aspect of a magical swarm of praying mantis. When one man and one woman are alone on the stage, the pas de deux they perform is lushly serpentine and sensual, and filled with stunning lifts and delicious intertwining that evokes the act for which the words Petite Mort have long been a euphemism. At one point, the women come onto the stage, seemingly clad in gowns that feature strapless bodices and immense hoop skirts. They sweep across the stage from one side to the other, as if powered by some ghostly force. But then the women step back and reveal that these gowns are standing on their own. The women wrap their bare arms around them, hugging the bodices, and perhaps embracing for a moment a classic view of femininity. Kylián does not give us answers, but he certainly gives us questions. Above all, in Petite Mort, he gives us a work that has mesmerized audiences and left them marveling at the amazing facility of the dancers and the singular vision of Jiří Kylián. Ballet dancing is composed of two elements. One is technique, which is the physical, athletic aspect of dance. The other is artistry, which is ballet's emotional and dramatic component. The third and final work in this program, ÉTUDES, combines these elements in a magical way because it is a ballet that celebrates the artistry of technique. Études is the French word for studies, and the ballet Études has its origins in a happy accident that occurred when the Danish composer Knud Reisiger heard through an open window someone practicing a piano exercise by the Austrian composer Harald, and was inspired to orchestrate some of Czerny's music for a ballet. He brought the finished score to his colleague Harald Lander, the ballet master of the Royal Danish Ballet. Now at this time, the late 1940s, Lander was guiding this once great company out of an artistic decline. And it was no small act of vision that after listening to the score, he came up with the radical idea of creating a ballet focused on the dancer's most basic daily ritual, their ballet class. A ballet that would show how the steps they learn and practice every day are alchemized into art. In every other ballet, the steps are employed to create the dance. But Études is a ballet about the steps, steps in all their simplicity and majesty, elegance and glory, steps that show us anew that the phenomenal skills of ballet dancers render them a breed apart. When you see the steps in this special way, no matter how much you love ballet, Études will leave you loving it even more. Études opens with the dancers at the bar. The stage is dark, and we can discern only their legs and arms as they navigate the most basic steps. As the bar work becomes faster, in unison with the music, the dancers raise their legs high to the front, side, and back, movements that blend into a simple yet intriguing dance. Then, following the age-old progression of a ballet class, the women move to the center, where male dancers join them. Together, they demonstrate the way ballet steps configure their bodies into lovely shapes that flow seamlessly from one to the next. The next section of the ballet pays tribute to the Royal Danish Ballet's great ballet master, August Bournonville, who led the company in the 19th century. It was Bournonville who established the Danish style, with its swift footwork and beats, its gently bent arms held in front of the body, and a virtuosity absent of any straining for heroics. Bournonville's most enduring and renowned ballet is La Sophie, created in 1836 during ballet's Romantic era. In homage to La Sophie, the ballerina enters the stage, costumed in a Romantic-era tutu, its long tulle skirt extending to her calf. As a male dancer lifts her, she seems the weightless essence of delicacy. Moments later, as he leaps high above the stage, we see the light, lovely buoyancy that Bournonville encouraged in his dancers. On Études goes, the steps becoming bigger, faster, bolder, as the dancing builds, then builds some more. A male dancer madly spins through 32 fouettes. The ballerina's pirouettes take on whiplash speed. As Études moves toward its striking culmination, a male dancer races onto the stage, his arms held high, his fingers snapping. Now, these finger snaps were not in the original choreography. But when the virtuoso John Gilpin danced this role in the 1950s, he got so carried away by the excitement Etudes generates that he spontaneously snapped his fingers, and Harald Lander liked this so much, he made it a permanent feature of the choreography. Finally, during the Grand Allegro that concludes each ballet class, come a succession of physical fireworks as the women and men go pirouetting and leaping across the stage, creating a finale that is unspeakably exhilarating, gravity-defying, and joyous. Just like the dancers portrayed in Etudes, today ABT's dancers went to class, where they practiced the many steps in the ballet vocabulary. Each day, even the greatest dancers go to class, do their warm-up stretches, and then go to the bar to begin their pliés. Plié and up, plié and up, the same pliés they've done 50,000 times before, the same pliés executed by every 5-year-old taking their first ballet class ever. For ballet dancers, this ritual is a necessity that readies them to become the glimmering beings they yearn to be on the stage. For such dancers, ballet is more than a career. It is a mission. Of course, there are two elements to every ballet performance. One is the dancers, the other is you, the audience they seek to thrill and captivate as they take you to that enchanting world where male dancers become spinning dervishes and ballerinas pass before our eyes with the otherworldly lightness of falling snowflakes. Your presence at their performance is your gift to them. Their dancing is their gift to you. I know you will enjoy your gift. Goodbye for now, and thank you for joining me for Behind the Ballet.